Yo guys, save this video now. We're going to explain functions in record time. Let's go. So a function is like a machine. It takes in an x value, and the x value could really be anything. Yeah, the function would do something to that, and it would give you an output, and that's the y value. Great. So let's just say we had a function f of x is equal to 9x plus 3. What does that mean? That means whatever I put into the function, I'm going to multiply it by 9 and I'll add 3 to it. That is what this particular function does. So let's just say you wanted to find f of 1. What does that mean, bro? Well, let me show you what it means. So instead of x, what do we have in the brackets? We have 1, which means we're going to input 1 into the function. So instead of seeing x, you're going to write 1. So it'll be 9 by 1 plus 3. Why did I do that? Because 1 was the input, and so I plug in 1 into the function. And in doing so, I'm going to multiply 1 by 9. That's 9, and then I'm going to add 3 to it. So 9 plus 3 is 12. I'm going to run that back one more time. 9 by 1 is 9. 9 plus 3 is 12. So when I plug in 1 into the function as the x value, I get 12, which is the y value, which represents the output. So a function, you plug in something in, that's the input, and you get something out. That's called the output. Great. Let's say we wanted to find f of a fish. Now, no fishes were harmed in the making of this video. It's just to prove a point. So whatever is inside the bracket here, that's what you're going to plug into the function. So if I said f of fish, because we have a fish in the brackets, wherever you see x, you're going to write a fish instead. So 9 by fish plus 3. So what this means is you're going to multiply the number of fishes by 9 and you're going to add 3 to it. We don't know what the number of fishes is, so I'm going to leave it like this. But I hope you understand the concept. Whatever you have inside the brackets is what you're going to put into the function. And the function is going to do something to the input and it will give you the output. So one more time. Whatever is inside the brackets, you're replacing the variable for that. As you can see, I put 1 inside the brackets here, which means the input is 1, so 9 by 1. Over here, we had a fish in the brackets, so we say 9 by the fish plus 3. Okay, cool. I trust that you guys understand that. Let's look at composite functions now, and it uses the exact same concept. So for composite functions, it means I plug in one function into another function. This would be called the inner function, and this is the outer function. So what does this mean? This just means f of g of x, which means that we're plugging g of x into f. We always plug the inner function into the outer function. So it's the exact same concept like this. You'll see. So what are we plugging into f? If you notice, we have g of x inside the brackets. And so remind me, what was g of x? G of x was equal to 2x. That's what g of x is. And so here what's happening, right? Instead of x being inside the brackets, what do we have inside the brackets here? Well, we have 2x, and remember, whatever you have in the brackets is what you're going to replace x with. So instead of us writing 9x plus 3, since we have 2x inside the brackets, we're going to replace x with 2x. So I will say, what am I going to say? I'm going to say 9 by 2x plus 3. And let me run that back one more time. So whatever you have inside the brackets is what you're going to replace x with, as that's the input. So if I have f g of x, it means I am plugging g of x into the function f. Now, g of x was 2x. And so that meant I'm plugging 2x into this function. So again, whatever you have inside the brackets is what you're going to replace x with. We had 2x here, so you're going to replace x with 2x. Lovely. Now we could simplify this, so that's going to be 9 by 2, which is 18x. So that's just going to be 18x plus 3. I cannot simplify that further, so I'll leave it like that. Let's do another one. Let's just say we had g f of x. What does this mean? This means that we have an inner function here and we have an outer function. The inner function is f of x and the outer function is g of x because it's on the outside. This means that we're going to plug f of x into the outer function g. So, again, what do we have on the outside? We have g. And what do we have on the inside? We have f of x. So this means that we're plugging f of x into g of x. So what is f of x? What is f of x? Let's look for it. F of x is 9x plus 3. So instead of writing g f of x, I'm going to write g of 9x plus 3. Okay, it might be confused. I'm going to run that back again. So we are plugging f of x into g. And what was f of x? F of x was 9x plus 3. So I wrote g of 9x plus 3. Okay, so what do we have inside the brackets here, guys? We have 9x plus 3 instead of x. So wherever you see x, instead of writing x, what are you going to write? You're going to write 9x plus 3. And so that's going to be equal to 2 by 9x plus 3. Let me run that back one more time. So this is g of x. Alright, g of x is equal to 2x. But instead of x in the brackets, we have 9x plus 3. So that's going to be 2 by 9x plus 3. So you need to expand the brackets now. So you're going to multiply the 2 by the 9x. So if you have 9x's and you double it, that's going to turn to 18x's. Wait, boy, all this on players here, boy. 18x's. And then you have 2 by 3. 2 by 3 is 6. So that's your answer for gf of x. Right? 18x plus 6. So gf of x is equal to this. And, well, this is what fg of x was. So let me run back the concept one more time. So in general, in a function, you have an input. The input is what's inside the brackets. Or if they tell you a specific value for x, you're going to replace that for wherever you see x in the question. So f of x is equal to 9x plus 3, g of x is 2x. In this question, what were we plugging into the outer function? We were plugging g of x. Now g of x was 2x. So instead of writing f of x, we had f of 2x, which meant that you were plugging what into the function? You were plugging 2x into the function. So anywhere that I saw x over here, what did I write instead? Well, I wrote 2x instead. So 9 by 2x is 18x plus 3. And that's how we find fg of x. Again, the one on the inside is the inner function, and the one on the outside is the outer function. You're always plugging the inner function into the outer function. And let's look at this one more time. So gf of x. This is the inner function over here. You're always plugging the inner function into the outer function. So the inner function is f of x. So we need to go and check what f of x was again. F of x was 9x plus 3. So that's going to be g of 9x plus 3. Instead of g of x, what do we have? Instead of g of x, we have g of 9x plus 3. So instead of writing x over here, we're going to write what? 9x plus 3. So it's going to turn to 2 by 9x plus 3. 2 by 9x is 18x and 2 by 3 is 6. Great. Let's look at this question now. So I want you guys to tell me what is the inner function here. Well, the inner function is g of 3 and the outer function is f of x. So how are we going to work this out? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite this in a form that it might look a bit simpler. So f of g of 3. So what do we have inside the brackets here? We have g of 3. Can I find g of 3? That's the question. Well, g of x is 2x, right? So if I want to find g of 3, that's just going to be 2 by 3. Because instead of writing x, what I have in the brackets? I have 3. So I'm going to replace x with 3. So 2 by 3 is equal to 6. So I know that g of 3 is 6. So that'll be f of 6. Is that hard to find? No. That's really simple. Because f of x was 9x plus 3. If we want to find f of 6, all we're going to do is replace x with 6. So that's just going to be equal to 9 by 6 plus 3. 9 by 6 is 54. 54 plus 3 is equal to 57, and that's that. So I hope you guys understand the general concept of a function as well as composite functions. Again, with functions, you're just taking an input, you're plugging it in, the function will do something to the number you put in and will give you an output. Simple as that. Cheers. And if you like content like this that's really, really in-depth and I explain everything in detail, you'll absolutely love my YouTube channel, Math Vibes. Go check it out now. I have a playlist that covers every single thing you need to know in the CSEC math syllabus.